Good evening and thank you so much, viewers, for joining us in this edition of the Primetime Newscast on ETV. Pope Benedict XVI says that he is tired and can no longer continue working as Bishop of Rome, and so would in less than 17 days step down. And also in this news, as Cameroonian youth observe National Youth Day, that is today, with many having very little or no idea on the essence of the celebrations. And also in this newscast, we take you to Chang West region of the country, where power shortage has hit that part of Cameroon, with students and businessmen alike complaining that activities have come to a standstill. You are watching the Primetime Newscast on ETV. Thank you so much and happy Youth Day celebrations to all of you. We thank you so much for joining us in this edition of the Primetime Newscast on ETV. We begin right away with the problem of power shortage in Chang West region of the country, which is said to have paralyzed academic as well as business activities. And students of the University of Chang have to that effect devised other means of studying, like the use of candles. And Anabila in the following report tells us how the population have been managing with the crisis.
Power shortage or blackout is seriously adversely affecting students at the University of Chang, just like those in other state universities nationwide. Despite long hours of lessons and fatigue, these students have to find time after classes to study for fear of losing a day. I come to the school campus to study because of frequent power cuts. Every time at home I sleep, so to meet up I come to study on campus. Like this girl, when a student cannot light up their rooms or are tired and can't continue studying on campus, they sleep off to the detriment of their career.
Tout ce qu'on a à faire, c'est dormir parce que l'étudiant, quand il rentre, il n'y a pas de lumière, tout ce qu'il a à dire.
Worst of it all, electricity is always in short supply during their end-of-course examinations.
Chaque année, à la veille des compositions, c'est le même scénario qui se répète.
Some other students, like this young girl, have taken the option of using candles, but she complains candles only aggravate her problem of sight.
J'ai le mal des yeux, je lisais avec la bougie, mais là je m'en suis rendu compte que je ne pouvais plus parce que mon mal ne faisait que s'aggraver.
Not only are students affected, this businessman in Chang, like others, complaining that he has lost millions of francs CFA to sudden and frequent power cuts.
And the President of the Republic of Cameroon has announced the imminent creation of some 200,000 jobs to Cameroonian youths in this year 2013. This, he said, ongoing projects in the country would secure job opportunities, several job opportunities to potential job seekers in Cameroon. He also took interest in the motorbike sector and called on the Ministry for Youth and Civic Education and that of Employment and Vocational Training to restore order in the sector. He emphasized on the need for them, the motorbike riders in Cameroon, to be trained on the proper use of the highway code and also the importance of the use of safety gadgets. And in the wake of the State of Nations address of President Paul Biya, he also acknowledged the place of Cameroonian teachers and simply said that their conditions would gradually get better. In the wake of that announcement, teachers in the capital city, Yaoundé, have said they are hoping that the president would fulfill his promise and also improve on their working conditions. Details with Yaoundé-based correspondent Roland Akon.
Some Cameroonian teachers have held the promise by President Biya to improve on their status and hope that the presidential promise will be met.
Most often we listen to speeches which are political, per se. So if this one can be non-political speech, then maybe the status of teacher will change.
From what the head of state promised the teachers yesterday, that he is going to ameliorate the teaching condition or the condition of the teachers. We hope that will be something that is going to actually to improve on the standard of the teachers, because actually it's as if they have been marginalized for long.
So talking about the teacher, he really spoke about how he's going to make sure that he recognizes, put the place of the teacher to like the new pedagogy that is coming out. You see, he are really making the teacher to be really effective and recognizing the fact that they are very, very important. That has been the cry of. Despite the important role teachers play in the society, their core is reportedly relegated to the back.
Teachers are the backbone of the society. but they have been relegated at the background. So teachers are crying foul to see if their status can change.
Teachers' situation are not the best, yes, but I think with the promises given by the head of state and the message too, which he broadcast yesterday, I think the teachers' conditions are going to improve.
Nonetheless, some teachers did not follow the head of state speech due to intermittent light cuts in Yaoundé.
There was light problem in my quartier, so I could not.
Well, as a matter of fact, I did not follow. I was preparing for the football.
That is what teachers in the capital city Yaoundé have to say as far as head of state speech yesterday is concerned. And Honorable Jean-Michel Ninche of the Social Democratic Front says the SDF party's Secretary General has no power to suspend him, and this is after the party's scribe Elizabeth Tamanjong issued an order stopping members of the party from public activities. He was speaking during an executive meeting which took place in Penja in the Mongo division. That was yesterday. Senior reporter Christopher took keen interest on that story and now tells us more.
According to a mission order signed by the party's scribe Elizabeth Tamanjong and dated February 4, 2013, a fact-finding mission was to probe into a petition signed by 45 out of the 60 electoral district making up the Littoral Provincial Chapter. This Tasintang Lucas-led commission had 7 days to investigate the problems that led to the ongoing crisis within the region. Amongst the 17-point grievances, one could read Vanguard's money siphoned, no micro-project realized so far by Jean-Michel Ninche as parliamentarian, his inactiveness and gross absenteeism on the field. But the valiant provincial chairperson of the Social Democratic Front, Honorable Jean-Michel Ninche, despite injunctions suspending activities of the party in its region of command till further notice, called for an executive regional committee meeting to hold in Penja Mungo division, that is Sunday, February 10th. This meeting, attended by a handful that matters at the helm of the littoral region, was a show of disagreement to those who signed the petition.
Because despite the fact that some of our fellow comrades of the party have taken monies from the ruling CPDM to stabilize the functioning of Littoral's regional executive, you can consider for yourself and see really that we've attended our forum. All the executive members are present, informed that we are probably in support of our regional chairperson, Honorable Jean-Michel Ninche, because out of the 76 expected delegates, already 55 to 56 are present. We've taken note and we've seen how our deliberations are all going.
Is this paving the way for another long crisis like that of the days of Bernard Muna? Or are Cameroonians going to witness a crack in the only trustworthy opposition party? The days ahead seem to hold the answer, as the littoral region remains the stronghold of the Social Democratic Front.
And let's talk religion, where Pope Benedict XVI has said that in less than 17 days he would resign as the Supreme Pontiff of the Roman Catholic Church. In a statement from the Vatican, the Pope indicated that his strength and health were failing him and can no longer continue in his duty. He called for the College of Bishops to meet elect a new pontiff, and he has been a leader of the Vatican since the 19th of February 2005. His resignation takes effect as from February 28, 2013, and Pope Benedict XVI is the fourth Supreme Pontiff to resign, and his resignation comes almost 600 years after that of the third. And today is the National Youth Day celebration that is taking place all over the country, the 47th of its kind, and reports say many youths here in the economic capital Douala who turned out at the UDIAC Square have very little or no information about what the celebration proper is all about. Rani Belsato was at the UDIAC Square and brought back the following report.
This year's edition of the National Youth Day celebrations saw, as usual, the colorful participation of the youth chanting reunification and patriotic songs. Curiously, most of them did not know how the day came about. They simply said it is a day for the youth to march and celebrate.
C'est une journée pour nous les jeunes, précisément nous les élèves, c'est une journée, c'est-à-dire moi, c'est une journée extraordinaire, je peux vous dire.
Only few knew it was the day the once separated East and West Cameroon became one.
This was a period where our friends, our brothers joined Nigeria and the others joined the part of Cameroon. So,
also, only 2 out of about 10 youths we talked to follow the head of state's traditional message to the youths as they commemorate their day. While some said they were unable to follow the president's speech because of the absence of electricity, others simply said they have been used to his normal promises. The president of the Littoral Regional Youth Council, who listened to the head of state, Paul Biya, said he was cognizant of the plight of the youth, like the disturbing rate of unemployment, which was, according to him, reassuring. Another used the expression "knitted nickel" to mean the speech was not precise. A greater part of the youth were delighted in his message of hope, especially because he took interest in both those in school as well as those out of school. A remarkable peculiarity in this year's edition of the March Past exercise in Douala was the non-participation of youths of political parties. Some parties were spotted among the crowd but did not take part in the March Past. Our attempts at finding out why, even from the governor of the region, were fruitless.
Randy Belsa today reporting on the National Youth Day that is being commemorated today all over the national territory. And after the break, we talk about the resignation of Pope Benedict XVI. You are watching the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television. Good evening to you viewers. Once again, we thank you so much for joining us. And today, the Pope Benedict XVI says that he is no longer able to continue as Bishop of Rome and Supreme Pontiff. And the 85-year issued a statement today saying that he is going to resign in less than 17 days. That is going to be this February 2013. And as guest tonight, we have a catechist of the Roman Catholic Church, Mr. Abotem Jean-Claude. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening, and thank you for inviting me.
And also we have a youth leader, Mr. Shune Siaka. Good evening, and thank you so much once again for joining us.
Good evening. It's my pleasure being here once more.
All right. I was talking about the statement that was issued by Pope Benedict XVI, saying that he is going, that he's tired. He can no longer continue as the Bishop of Rome. So what's your immediate reaction as a catechist of the Roman Catholic Church?
Well, I would say my reaction is mixed. In the first place, it is normal because it is stipulated by the canon law of the Catholic Church that a pope can resign out of his own free will and without pressure and without force. Now, on the other hand, I can say I had a mixed feeling because this is like a father saying he is going out of his mission. He's going away from the responsibilities of the church. So, you see, I can say I had mixed feelings, but on the other hand, I accept it because it is according to the principles of the Catholic Church.
All right, and to you, Mr. Shune Siaka, do you think that how do you receive the information? The Pope's resignation?
His resignation comes at a controversial period in the history of the Roman Catholic Church. He is the second in line to do this 600 years after. And it comes when the Catholic Church is plagued with scandals of immorality and sexual promiscuity, which is not of Christendom. So I want to presume that these are the things that have provoked him to drop his administrative responsibility as a pope and go back to his priest responsibility as a servant of God.
So do you think that it is proper for a man who was there to serve the people and also make sure that they are brought up morally? He just at one point just gets up, as Mr. Siaka said, because of immorality in the church and says that he is resigning. Do you think that it is the proper time for him to resign now, especially as the rate of morality is high?
You see, let us look at his letter of resignation. He says his age and his health. These two are no more compatible with his responsibility. I don't think he's motivated by the scandals in the church. There will always be scandals in the church. But I think popes are strong enough to stand all this. If he says he's resigning because he feels the health, take into consideration, this man is 85 years old. He's no longer 60 years where he can carry the load of the church. And he is not saying that I'm going out of the Catholic Church. He's resigning from his administrative responsibility, just like he said, as a pope, from the papacy of the Catholic Church. But he will remain a Catholic priest, because from his letter, he says he will consecrate his life in the reading of scriptures and prayers. So he will still be there to serve the people. And then, now, coming to the point where you say a man where, you see, we don't serve a pope in the Catholic Church. The pope is just a leader. The person we serve and worship is God. God will always be God, whether with Pope Benedict or not. And we Catholics, we look up to God, but we keep on praying and asking him for his assistance. So it is going to be no problem in the Catholic Church, and it is not going to destroy our spirituality.
See, as far as your spirituality is concerned, and now he's resigning. You are talking about his age. He's 85 years old.
Yeah.
And he's not the oldest pope that the Roman Catholic Church has ever had. And so, why do you think that it's as a result of his age, or that something? Because others were there, they didn't resign at all. They were there, and they kept on serving God and also leading other Christians. So
you have to understand that this is an issue of one's conscience. You see, somebody, for example, John Paul II, died as a pope in papacy. If he thinks he can no longer carry, because it has to do with accepting some responsibility and carrying out the responsibility. And to be very sincere, if you look at the Pope these past days, you realize that the age is weighing on him. And why continue to stand there, especially when you have to do things that people expect you to do? So I think it is of no challenge. It is rather of his clear conscience. And I think it is better for a pope to resign than to stay there and don't meet up to the expectations of the Catholic Church.
Do you think, Mr. Siaka, that age is enough reason for the pope to have resigned?
As a matter of fact, we all know that Pope John Paul II, who died a few years behind, was older than Benedict XVI. What I do understand is that there's been a lot of emancipation in religious activities in this last century, which has affected all these churches, traditional churches, because a lot of living churches have come up. With this emancipation, people question the activities of their leaders. And Benedict II, being the representative of God on earth as Catholic dogma teaches us, will, as a matter of fact, derail or drop out his activities if he thinks that he does not fully represent God as it should be, and putting a square peg in a square hole. As a matter of fact, what I want to mean by this is that as a leader of the church, if he sees that he is not able to lead the sheep of God, he better drops it and give it to somebody who is ready to do it as it requires.
Now, Mr. Abotem, the Pope came to power on the 19th of April 2005, and one of his principal objectives was he ordained or raised Pope John Paul II to a saint. What do you think could possibly be his reason for that?
He is not the one. There is a congregation, and there are principles that are being followed for somebody to be called blessed in the Catholic Church. He is not a saint yet. He is blessed. That is the first step of canonization. So Pope John Paul is not a saint as of now. Pope John Paul II is not a saint. He is blessed. And the decision was not the decision of Pope Benedict XVI. It is a congregation of the saints that, after following the principles that are put in place by the Catholic Church, goes ahead to propose that somebody can be called blessed, as Pope John Paul is being called now, Blessed Pope John Paul II. So it is not the Pope's decision. Whether he was there or not, if the congregation thought it wise, they will forward it.
Now, another mission that he happened to have accomplished is the increase in the number of cardinals. That the Catholic Church is now counting about 125 of them.
Yes, with 6 recently.
Which is, of course, very, very innovative in the history of the Roman Catholic Church. What could possibly be the reason for the sudden increase in the number? Could it possibly be as a result of him wanting for people to be more spiritually upright?
Yeah, you know, the Catholic Church has came up with a system of proximity preaching of the gospel. With the increase of the cardinals, first of all, who are the cardinals? The cardinals are his close mates. They are the council of elders in the Catholic Church. They advise him and they help him to handle the affairs of the church. And if he thinks he needs more of them to help him sustain the church, it is his choice. And I think it is for the best interest of the Catholic Church. Because the lesser the shepherds, the lesser the pastoral ground. The more the shepherds, the more the pastoral ground is exposed.
And to you, Mr. Shunesiaka, do you think the increase in the number of cardinals in the Roman Catholic Church is, do you think it's a good innovation for the people's for the Christians to be spiritually upright?
I think the increase is not a problem, because if we have 100 Christians with five cardinals, and if the Christians increase to 200, we need to increase the cardinals. For me, the increase of cardinals is not a problem. But what I do understand is that the Pope is resigning in a period where immorality is at an all-time high in the Roman Catholic Church. We hear of these scandals in America, Europe, and Africa. It is not strange when you hear that sisters in convents are getting pregnant. It's not strange when you hear that priests are getting sisters or sisters in the quarters pregnant, which is totally absurd in the dogma of the Roman Catholic Church. So I think, despite the genuine reasons that our Pope might present for his resignation, this scandal has an undertone in his resignation.
Are you saying that is some sort of a failure on his part? Because if he's leaving the Roman Catholic Church when it is plagued by such ills as you are citing, it means that it could possibly be a downfall, like a failure on his part.
No, in Christendom, salvation is personal. In Christendom, salvation is personal. He is not responsible for sexual immorality in the church, because those priests are taught to cater for God's people. But if you deliberately decide to waylay, you bear responsibility for that. And he doesn't want to be part of a failing team. That's why he has stepped behind. That is my humble opinion.
That's your humble opinion. And of course, so to you, Mr. Abotem Jean-Claude, what do you think will possibly happen between now and the 28th of February that he is to step down?
He is still a pope, and after he will leave the place, normally in the Catholic Church, the College of Cardinals will come together for a conclave where a new pope will be elected. But as of now, he continues in his ministry as a pope of the Catholic Church. And just like he said, I don't think the scandals in the church are any problem to the Pope of the Catholic Church. No way. The scandals will always be there. Even when Pope John Paul II was there were scandals. But the most essential thing we must understand is that the Pope has a spiritual and administrative responsibility. If he thinks he can no longer contain the two, he can leave the administrative responsibility and keep on with his spiritual responsibility in the Catholic Church.
And also, the imminent announcement of his resignation is normally going to trigger multiple reactions. Do you think that after people must have reacted, people must have said a lot of things, he could come back to his decision? Do you think so?
I don't think. You see, when a pope sits and decides to resign, it is not something that he gets up in the morning and resigns. This is something which I believe he must have prayed and asked for the direction of God, for the consent of God, before taking this decision. He is doing so because he thinks deep in his mind that God is in acceptance with what he's doing. And I don't think something will come up tomorrow to see the Pope saying that, okay, I dropped my resignation.
Going back to this, and of course to you, Mr. Shunesiaka, do you think that in 17 days something could possibly make the Pope come back to his decision or change his mind? Do you think so?
I think the Pope is not only the head of the Catholic Church, but the head of state. the Papa state. So for a head of state to take a decision to resign, he must have taken some time to think about the pros and cons of his decision. Take for instance, do you think the Pope will be happy to hear that the head of state of a nation of two countries are meeting, and one of the issues on the agenda is to legalize homosexuality in a nation, in a Catholic state like France, another talk of a state like Cameroon, two head of states sitting to discuss on legalizing homosexuality. The Pope is not happy about cacophonies like that. So I think his resignation is genuine, and he's sending a message to the whole world that Christians should sit up.
Of course, we have handled a great deal about the imminent resignation of the Pope Benedict XVI. So let's talk about the National Youth Day that is being commemorated today. Yesterday, Head of State Paul Biya addressed Cameroonian youths, and he focused on three things. I should say ameliorating the working condition of teachers in the country and making sure that they are morally upright Cameroonian youths, of course. And also, he talked about the commercial motorbike sector. Now, when you watch the Head of State deliver his State of Nation address, what came to your mind immediately?
As a matter of fact, it was a fine-tuned speech from an elderly statesman who seems to understand the political and socio-economic problems that the youth of his country are going through. He has been there for about 3 decades, but his speech lacked substance because he has been repeating this speech for about 30 years today, and the problems of the youth have never been resolved.
So talking about the motorbike sector, do you think that is a good idea for resources to be harnessed in the sector? Do you think that?
Oh yes, that is a very good proposal from the minister, from the president. But we know that there will be no follow-up because the Ministry of Youth Affairs was created, and the minister seems not yet to understand the responsibility for the creation of the Ministry of Youth Affairs. So he's just there dangling, and he has never called youth associations to dialogue with them and has seized the opportunity that the Minister of Youth Affairs should call a national youth forum where we youths can come and sit and dialogue with him and tell him the real problems that youth in this country are facing, rather than sitting in their offices and insinuating things about youths that they don't face. You know, most of them were just appointed. They left school about some 30 years ago. They have never undergone any refresher courses or come down to the grassroots level to understand what youths are going through, to even understand our problems. They are just insinuating and thinking that they can propose jargon to us. We are not going to accept that rubbish. Let them come to youth, organize a youth forum so we can sit and propose to them what we are facing now, because what they faced in the early 50s and 60s is not the same problem that youths are facing today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shinesiaka, and happy Youth Day celebrations to you. We shall have you some other time to talk more on that.
Thank you very much.
And thank you so much, Mr. Abotem Jean-Claude. We thank you so much for joining us, and happy Youth Day celebrations.
Thank you so much,
and to you viewers, we thank you so much for joining us in this edition of the Primetime Newscast on ETV. We have come to the end and joined Fenelon Mahobsen at exactly 8 p.m. for the French version of the news. Meantime, have a wonderful stay in the company of our programs. Good evening to you.